keeping you up to speed on all your Colorado teams. It's time for Coffee Break.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome into Coffee Break. I'm glad to be joined by my regular Tuesday guest, NFL insider to the stars, James Palmer. James, how are you, man?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. Just did 3 hours of content this morning for 89, which is the show I host with Steve Smith Sr. Last week, I'm not sure if anybody caught. Steve definitely was refusing to talk about Jerry Jeudy, and then when we went to tape, he's like, I got to talk about Jerry Jeudy. So he definitely did. But, man, we're going through rookie receiver report cards, what's going on in Philly right now, like all sorts of stuff. It's all coming out. But we've been grinding all morning, man. Let's go.
You know what? Let's start there with what's going on in Philly. I had that on my agenda to talk to you about as well, and then we'll get to the game we saw last night as well. But I'm not feeling as much brotherly love coming out of the Philadelphia Eagles locker room as maybe I have in years past. James, what are your thoughts and what do you know about the dynamic and potential rifts between Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and all that?
Yeah, I mean, I spent a lot of time with the Eagles from Philly, know that organization really well. Brandon Graham's kind of the one who kind of, kicked over this fire that's been smoldering a little bit, and it just went. I mean, that's one of the best leaders that I've been around. He's one of the most beloved people in Philadelphia. No lie, I'll never buy another beer in the Philadelphia area for the rest of his life after what he did to Tom Brady in the Super Bowl to help bring that first Super Bowl to Philadelphia. But on his weekly radio appearance, he kind of says, yeah, it's an issue. And 1 and 11, Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, they've been friends for a long time, but things have changed. What? He's like, it's business now, and they got to find a way to communicate and talk, and Jalen's making an effort, and A.J.'s not, and you're like, what is happening? And I was actually talking to one of their coaches for this series I'm doing and getting some intel, and he was like, what is happening? Like, we do not need this right now. Because Philly is unlike other places, I'll be honest. Like, no other place in America, no lie, you could be on a 9-game winning streak and every single question to the guys in the locker room is what's wrong with the passing game. I mean, like, I understand they squeaked by Carolina, but the same questions weren't asked to the Kansas City players when they squeaked by Carolina 2 weeks earlier.
No, it's cute when the Chiefs do it.
It's when the Chiefs do it, it's, oh, man, they're just finding a way. Yeah. That's what they do. And this is something in Philadelphia, and I'm buddies with a lot of these guys in this beat, but they needle and they prod and they poke, and it never ends. Monday, Nick Sirianni gets asked 16 questions. 11 of them are about the passing offense and what's going on and what the frustration is. The fact of the matter is it's not good. I mean, they're last in attempts. They just don't throw the ball anymore. Maybe because they have Saquon Barkley and a great defense. And guess what? If you run an offense that is adversive to risk, extremely successful, they're 8th in points, and you protect the football, every offensive coordinator is going to want to run that offense. Sure. And that's what they're doing. But they're not throwing it at all. And one of the best players on that team is A.J. Brown. He literally is. He's probably a top 3 to 5 wide receiver in this league. And he's open. And he's open a lot. And A.J. doesn't hide his feelings, very well. It's something that is the way he's wired. But I would look at it like this a little bit more. I would say this is less of an issue with, I want the ball, me. It's, to my understanding, I'm a really good player. Devonta Smith is a really good player. If we get the ball, we're a better team.
Yeah.
And if we get away from this for too long of a stretch now, because, I mean, only the Patriots are worse than the Eagles in terms of passing yards per game right now. We're going to need to lean on this passing game at some point. Let's not go away from it. We're open. Throw us the ball. We're a better team if we get the ball. I think that's more of where A.J. Brown's coming from. I know there's frustration from a lot of aspects. This part's my opinion. When you're running an offense the way they're running it, I think Jalen Hurts is a little hesitant to throw the football. He's protected it well. He hasn't put it in danger. They're winning games this way. I think he's almost like, I'm not going to release it. And so it's a little bit of an issue. It's become a bigger issue because of Brandon Graham, but we'll see what ends up happening because nothing surrounds a team like this one, honestly, in recent memory, that can win as many games as they do and have as many question marks next to whether they're good or not.
Yeah, I mean, listen, their fans,
great roster.
Their fans throw snowballs at Santa Claus, so the media has
you
to
had
embody.
Pick the low-hanging fruit. Yeah, I mean, that was a weak-ass Santa Claus. He's a skinny college kid that's out there at the stadium. He just didn't even look like Santa. It was embarrassing for the kid, too.
No, that's true. At some point, if you don't plant your flag for
50 years
something,
ago. Oh,
yeah,
okay. I see where you're going.
If you don't stand for something, you stand for nothing. So I appreciate they at least fly their flag, even if it may be a little aggressive.
Yeah,
well,
I mean, it is. It's a tough place to play, honestly. And I think that to make this a grander conversation, it's why like Ben Johnson is very picky about where he wants to go. Like he doesn't like there's certain guys in the draft that come out and they go, big market is not for this guy. Like, the situation and setting is actually more important than a lot of people think.
Well, and you mentioned, Philadelphia, from the environment and the expectations that surround it. It is a tough place to play. And I think that if you ask some of the people who held that mantle over the years, I think that a Dallas Cowboys head coach might say something similar. And
totally true. Those organizations look at players differently. No lie. Can he be a Dallas Cowboy is a part of the process. Can he put up with honestly the circus that Jerry creates? Can that player handle that? Can that player handle everything that comes with being the Cowboys? Like, I don't think people believe this, but I think it's 100% true. Dak Prescott deals with more being the starting quarterback of the Cowboys than the 31 other starting quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah, no,
I don't think it's even close, honestly.
I think that's fair. And although their expectations might be higher and higher every year, the amount of grace that they get for not reaching those expectations goes in the other direction. And I think when you have they looked a little bit more like the Doe-less Cowboys than the Dallas Cowboys last night. It's one of the first times I think I've seen a situation where a blocked punt was a bad thing for the blocking team. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And I think you saw it hasn't come out on a podcast yet, although Micah Parsons is no stranger to
wait till his thing comes
to digital media, so you never know. But Micah looked visibly frustrated last night, kind of that feeling of like, how is this my life? How is this happening? Because individually he's doing well and he's one of the better edge rushers and players at his position in the league, and it just feels like everything else around him is just crumbling.
Yeah, it's true, but I'd look at it from the other side. Like, did you see Joe Burrow's post-game interview? Like, he was just like, thank God something went our way.
Exactly.
I mean, because he has played incredible football. The Broncos will have him in a couple of weeks. If they weren't sitting with the record they have right now, I think it'd be him and Josh Allen and Saquon Barkley for the MVP.
I agree.
He's 100% in the conversation. He's playing outstanding.
I was just about to say, I'm not even going to save it for our Overreaction Tuesday, but because I don't think it's an overreaction that if the Bengals record was a little bit better, he would be the favorite to win MVP with the numbers he's putting up.
Yeah, he's unbelievable this year. He has been outstanding. You've seen the mobility come back because he actually is a far better athlete than people understand, and you've seen him be able to manipulate and throw, and I mean, he plays the position as a whole at one of the highest levels in this league. From the mental standpoint, from the physical standpoint, he's been incredible. And they haven't had any, just as the Chiefs, and I was there Sunday night, doink it in. Everything that has gone right for the Chiefs has gone wrong for the Cincinnati Bengals. It's unbelievable to watch the two seasons.
You mentioned it, the mental aspect. Cerebrally, he's one of the better quarterbacks that I've seen in recent memory. And the connection that he has with Jamar Chase genuinely is something you can't fake. I appreciate, and I think it's valid and fair that you're starting to see conversation now about between Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson is the order that we've had them in, because it feels like Jeddah's kind of been unanimously considered.
And you throw CD in there after last year. A lot of people had Justin Jefferson, CD Lamb, Jamar Chase. Yeah. I think that's kind of changed. Guys got 15 touchdowns.
15 touchdowns. 15.
I saw a stat the other day that was like, or was this morning, if you have Jamar Chase on your fantasy team, you have a 56% chance that you're first or second place in your fantasy football league.
Yep, and I don't, so I love that.
Either.
Yeah,
well, I'm in the postseason, but that's it.
Yep, I win. I got 2 out of 3. I lost one on a tiebreaker last night, or I would have been 3 for 3. But on the Bengals, James, I think there's been, I've definitely wondered it myself, and I think there might be some curious minds around Broncos country who are curious, as the Bengals are still a remaining opponent left on the schedule. that if they continued to lose or if things continued to just break everything the wrong way, that they might make some business decisions and their end of their season might look different. That feels like it's out the window in any sense, right?
100%. It's those decisions usually happen in the adverse side, which should be their situation with Kansas City in the last game of the year. Where Cincinnati's at right now, you have players like Jamar looking for records. Like you have Joe Burrow playing for pride, and you have the understanding that you want to go into the next season like rolling. Even though things haven't gone right, you're looking to go out there and make sure you're heading into 2025 on the right note. Now, I would say there is thought in teams that are going through some things like Cincinnati is, and maybe some teams that are even a little further down, is you start to look at some rookies, you look at some younger guys, maybe you give some snaps to some other guys potentially to see where they're at, because you're making, like you said, business decisions. You're making you're taking a larger macro look at your roster, right? So can I see this guy in this situation?
Yeah,
a little
an
bit,
extended
maybe?
evaluation period.
Yeah, but like, are they going to bench Joe Burrow? Like, no,
Yeah.
that's not happening. Like, you're going to see Joe Burrow, you're going to see Jamar Chase, but are you going to have an opportunity to maybe see like Burton, their young receiver? Could he get on the field a little bit? I don't know. He hasn't been very good, but like maybe they try to find him have a snap. You know what I mean? Like, but I don't think there's that drastic of a change. You're still going to face Joe Burrow.
Yeah, well, to get to Joe Burrow, the Broncos are going to have to go through the Colts first. Both teams coming off of a bye there. And I think after as fun as it was for us as fans and as viewers to watch the Monday night shootout with the Browns, I think it was definitely an uncharacteristic performance from the defense. And I think that it was eye-opening in terms of the secondary with the absence of Riley Moss and the way that Jameis Winston and that Browns offense was able to take advantage of Levi Wallace and others. And it sounds like Riley's not going to be ready to come back for this next game, and it may take another extended evaluation period before he can get back into the lineup. James, what, if anything, have you heard about how the Broncos plan to approach the secondary heading into the Colts game?
Yeah, let's look at it from a couple angles. I don't think Riley Moss was going to completely shut down Jerry Jeudy. Like, the guy was just on.
He was on.
You know what I mean? Like, do you think Riley Moss is worthy of just shutting down, what was it, like 200 and... What was the final total?
237, yeah, something like that.
Like, I don't think he makes that much of a difference in shutting that down.
No.
Are they worse of a secondary without Riley Moss? Of course.
Yeah.
Like, did they get really exposed in Levi Wallace's inability to run?
Yeah.
Yes. Did they get some valuable snaps? Like, we're talking about valuable snaps, like from a youngster? Yeah, I think they did. I think those were important. But I also look at it and look at the crux of the game. Like, this is still the second best defense in football in points allowed, even after that game.
Right.
This is a defense that's still very, very good. I don't know why with some organizations we give them the ability, like, they just lay a dud once in a while. Like, the Ravens lay a dud once in a while. Do we still think the Ravens are really good?
Yeah.
As a team? Yeah, we do. Yeah. But sometimes we're like, that's typical Ravens. They'll just lay a dud. They lost to the Raiders, right? Like in the beginning of the year.
They lost to a Steelers team that didn't score a touchdown.
Yeah. I mean, like, so like, I think you look at this game and oftentimes teams get caught up playing the Jameis Winston style of play, which I think, I haven't asked him. I don't know if anybody has, but I think Bo Nix, from appearances, looked like he got caught up in that a little bit. Let me go shot for shot with you.
Yeah.
Let me play a little
Anything
bit more
you
reckless.
can do better.
A little more reckless than I usually play as a quarterback. I also think, and I was talking to a DB coach about this yesterday, like, when you play Jameis Winston, there's certain rules that are broken by Jameis that make you, like, go, God, like, it allows points at times if he's rolling. Like, the point is, like, he'll throw balls that within the rules that you're following as a secondary, like, he shouldn't throw that. Like, I shouldn't worry about that because that's everything I've been taught as a DB. That's not going to happen.
Right. You have to expect the unexpected.
Yeah, Jameis is like, screw it. And he's just like, he's just throwing it.
Yeah.
And you know what? Sometimes that happens with Jameis, and it all clicks, and he throws for 500 yards. And then there's the plays where you throw 3 picks, 2 pick sixes. Like, that's Jameis in a nutshell. So I do look at the game at a little bit and how it went and go, that's sometimes a hard quarterback to play. The guy who doesn't do the things that, like, he takes the stupid chances. And you're like, you know what I mean? And that hurts you sometimes. And so I think that combined with were they due to just give up some points and some yards at some point this year? Yeah, I think they were. Was it a big game for Cleveland? Massive game for Jerry Jeudy? Yeah. So how do you correct that going into Indianapolis, where if they lose this game, their season's pretty much over?
Yeah.
If they win this game, they're still very much in the postseason play. Like this means a lot to Denver, this game. This means even more to Indy. So how do you make sure you don't allow a team coming into your building kind of have that same mindset and you squash it this time?
Do you see parallels between Jameis Winston and Anthony Richardson in the regard that you kind of mentioned, where Jameis is willing to do things that other quarterbacks aren't, or he's kind of erratic or unconventional? I think Anthony Richardson's resume as an athlete and the things that he's able to do physically up to this point in his career
can't do those.
Yes, it's stronger than some of his acumen necessarily as a quarterback. But there's no one who's going to question the fact that he has a fire hose and he can rip the ball downfield whenever he wants. It's just a matter of accuracy and timing and other things. But do you think the Broncos may face a similar challenge with Anthony Richardson in terms of the way that he may try to exploit a defense?
Well, he'll be aggressive for sure, and he'll take shots for sure, and they have some deep threats definitely. Will he be as reckless with the football? Just like with no memory at all? Like I think Jameis has the shortest memory of anybody in the NFL. Like he's like Sandy from like Along Came Polly. He's like, every ball he thinks is gonna
let it rain.
Let it rain, man. White chocolate. You know what I mean? But like I don't think he'll be as reckless. He's obviously a different player. They've been running him much more frequently, specifically in the red zone, than they were before he got benched. I would look for him to be a threat. I would look for a spy to be used more frequently. You're not spying Jameis. But I get your point. Like, are there going to be shots? For sure. Is he going to be as reckless as Jameis? I don't think so.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'm not overreacting.
And you get what I'm saying, by the way, Richie, when I say like he's not going to be as reckless, doesn't mean he won't turn the ball over.
Sure,
but he's going to grab it on a couple of those instances where Jameis is just going to rip it into the tightest window possible and see if he can make a play.
Yeah, well, we'll see how they handle it. I'm not quite overreacting to the Riley Moss absence the way it kind of was tempted to with Levi Wallace and Abrams Drain and how they were kind of able to fill that void. But I will say, and you alluded to it, there are fewer things I think more dangerous than having to face an opponent in any sport or sense who's got their back up against a wall and really nothing left to lose. It's kind of an all or nothing situation. And the Broncos, albeit a better team on paper and in the standings, they run in the risk of they can't let the Colts beat them, but they also can't beat themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're a playoff team, which they are, and I think also last week is an opportunity to win a game in a different manner, I think, which is important too. Like, if you're a playoff team, you want to win in a variety of ways. They haven't won a game in a shootout like last week. I think that's another check to like, we're a playoff team. We can win in a variety of ways. I think if you're a playoff team, you don't hurt yourself a lot. And I think Denver's done a decent job of that, specifically offensively. Like Bo Nix operates like, I'm not going to take a sack. I'm not going to take a negative play. I'm not going to turn it over. I trust a good defense. We're going to get the ball back. And they need to keep playing that way. They've played that way in special teams. Like they've been a very good special teams team as a whole this season. That's another aspect of those nuances of being a playoff team and not beating yourself is good special teams play. I think they play sound on defense. They're a good red zone defense. So like they check a lot of those boxes. You just don't want the last game that you played, and maybe it's thankful that you had a bye after it, to regroup and kind of be like, we know that's not really our style of play, right? Like we're glad we got the win, but we play a little bit more together than that. Like we play much more complementary football than that. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they went back to their style of play, in this game against Indianapolis.
Well, I can't wait to find out. I already told you I put it on the record with you first. I think the Broncos have one loss left on their schedule, and it starts this weekend against Indianapolis. So I can't wait to get to it. And
okay. What's the one loss? Are you going with?
I think it's going to be the Chargers. I think it's going to be the Chargers. I thought it was a coin flip between the Bengals and Chargers before they flexed, and I think giving yourself an extra short week on the road when you didn't necessarily have to could come back to bite them a little bit, despite the primetime exposure.
Yeah, and if Kansas City has things locked up, which they could potentially have the ability to have it locked up before Christmas, so their game on Christmas against the Steelers, which Netflix would hate. What if they wanted to really kind of put their foot off the gas for the last 2 weeks? They'd have the ability to do that if they wanted to.
Yep.
And that makes the Broncos game a little bit different. But yeah, the Chargers are good, man. Like, by the way, I do want to throw this out there. Being on the sideline at Arrowhead, the rave reviews of Ladd McConkey are like unbelievable. Like the Chiefs were like, this dude is incredible. Like that was their whole game plan. Now, now in Chiefs' luck, he didn't end up playing.
I was gonna say,
and in Chiefs' luck, when they beat the Chargers earlier in the season, it was the only game that Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt have missed this year. Both of their tackles. Like it's been unbelievable the way it's fallen for the Chiefs. But like anyway, I wanted to get that out there about the Chargers because Herbert still played great with no weapons around him in that game and good enough to win. But that'll be a tough one for sure. Defense is playing well. But yeah, I think they should beat Indianapolis, and it's not like there's any cakewalks left.
Yeah,
that's why I think this game's so important. I mean, do you know who Indy has left?
Yeah, it's much easier.
It's like
the Giants,
it's the Giants, the Jags, and the Panthers.
Panthers, I believe. I believe it is the Panthers.
I think that's all they have left. I mean, that's nothing. I'm double checking to make sure we're not wrong for anybody listening. Yeah, no, Titans. Titans, Giants, Jags. You better win this game because they'll be right behind you.
Yeah, no, the Broncos are in a position where just like
the tiebreaker over you.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And so the margin for error started the season for the Broncos slim. It remains slim, and we'll have to see if they can get back after it this weekend. So, selfishly speaking, James, Overreaction Tuesday is one of my favorite segments to prepare for on this show every week, and I got 4 for you here that I want to run through.
Let's do it
real quickly. One, I'm going to throw a snowball at Santa Claus. I think the Eagles are pretenders. I think that one of the better teams in the NFC record-wise and some of the things they've been able to do, Saquon Barkley is having an unbelievable MVP caliber season at the running back position. I think that they are doing an excellent job of working around and masking the deficiencies in the passing game that we alluded to earlier and some of maybe the genesis of the frustration with those receivers. I think they have so much limitation in that regard that they're going to be schemable enough. And I think that they're headed for a major fundamental change if they can't make this thing work with Jalen Hurts.
Okay, so which one are you saying? Are you saying we're going to make your overreaction is big changes are happening in Philly after this season, or they're fraudulent right now?
I think I'll lay it out in a sentence for you. The Eagles are fraudulent right now. They are pretenders in this postseason chase right now, and I think that we are inside of 2 seasons from right now of seeing a potential change with Jalen Hurts if they can't get more out of their passing game with the amount of weapons that Howie Roseman's been able to put around him.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at it like that because you're looking at Jalen Hurts and you're going, this is probably a top 4 offensive line, maybe the best left tackle in football. Like, Jordan Mailata is becoming incredible. So you have a great line. You have 2 number 1 receivers in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. You have a top 8 tight end in Dallas Goedert. You have essentially who should be the MVP at running back, Saquon Barkley, and you're making $50 million. Yeah, you should make plays. Like, you should make a lot of plays. Now, I think if you're being realistic and you give everybody truth serum, or if you just ask the right people around the league like I have, Jalen Hurts is limited. He is.
I think that if we didn't have the push,
so I think you have to look at him from a different angle than you look at most quarterbacks. I would say this, and I know this sounds like a dumb thing to say, but like, he is a winner. They're one shitty holding call in the Super Bowl away from beating the Chiefs. I mean, if that holding call doesn't happen, they beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Jalen had one of the best Super Bowl performances we've ever seen. I remember sitting in Kansas City and Andy Reid's sitting right next to me, and he looks at Jalen. He's like, it's the best single game performance I've ever seen a quarterback have. Like, Jalen was incredible. So it's there. The reason everybody's curious is like, why doesn't it happen consistently? I think he is somewhat limited in some of the things he can do. Now, he can do some things as a quarterback that other quarterbacks can't do. The running ability, to be able to finish within the 5, all these different things that kind of come with Jalen Hurts. Would they like him to be a little bit more consistent in the pass game? For sure. Have we seen it in the past at times? Definitely, we have. 2 years ago, he was the runner-up for the MVP. Something has been a little bit off, for sure, in the passing game. I alluded to earlier that I think it's because they're almost too comfortable in the run game. So why take any sort of adverse risk in the passing game. But guess what? A.J. Brown, if he's in one-on-one, you throw the ball. If he's as wide open as he's been, you throw the ball. But also, this is the third best defense in football. So I think it's an overreaction. I do. There's just too much talent on the Philadelphia Eagles. And defensively, they're still very, very good. And they're very young defensively, too. But listen, you're like a caller at WIP in Philadelphia right now. I don't think Jalen's the guy. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So you have to understand how he plays. The Colts' current head coach, Shane Steichen, understood how Jalen plays very, very well. And he was excited. But it's a simple passing offense. It's not complex. So if they get down, which I think they have not scored a point in 10 of their 13 first quarters this season, their formula is subject to some issues. If they get down early, how do you keep running the ball?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I thought even when I said it might be a little of an overreaction, but I do think
that's the point of the game.
I do think it's rooted in some truth there. Another thing I think is rooted in some truth is I think that a team that was left for dead by a lot of NFL fans and maybe even some other teams and executives around the league, the Los Angeles Rams are rolling. And I think that I think the Rams are going to make some noise in the postseason and potentially play spoiler or upset to a team that we might have in contention right now. They're 6-2 in the 8 games they've played with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua both healthy. And they finally have some health along the offensive line, which was just a turnstile throughout the first 8 to 10 weeks of the season. I think the Rams are contenders from the dead.
Yeah. I do not think this is an overreaction. Now, they're essentially playing playoff football starting Thursday. We're having from it where they play the
49ers.
And then they're at the Jets, Cardinals, Seahawks, which I was at the game in Seattle where Matthew Stafford threw an absolute dime to Demarcus Robinson to beat the Seahawks in overtime. So they already have that part of that part of the head-to-head there, and they're a game back. I think they're so dangerous. I agree. Now, here's why they're dangerous. Since week 8, that's when they got both guys back, right? Puka missed weeks 2 through 7, and Kupp missed weeks 3 through 7. So since week 8 to now, the most completions between a quarterback and a receiver are Burrow and Jamar Chase at 54. Second is Matthew Stafford to Puka Nacua at 50. Do you know who's third?
Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton.
Matthew Stafford to Cooper Kupp at 45. That shows you what's going on when both of these guys are healthy. Those are the top 3 since week 8 in terms of quarterback to receiver completions there. That's 54, 50, 45. So they have 50. That's you know what I mean? So like when they're both healthy, they're so hard to guard. And then Demarcus Robinson's not a bad 3. And Williams runs the football really well. Like, I think you're right. I think they can score on anybody. I think they're super dangerous. When Matthew Stafford gets into that peak Stafford mode where, like, if you talk to teammates, his eyes roll back in his head or he's like a demon of some sort and 50 game-winning drives in his career. He did that against the Bills from the start of the game on. Like, he was in that zone. Now, I think at his age, doing it consistently like that, week in and week out, is much tougher. It's harder once you get older to consistently play at that level. But he still has it in him. And that's why nobody wants them to get into the postseason.
Nope.
Because if, like, Philly runs into them or, say, like, the Texans run into them, like, there's a chance your season's just over like that. Like, and so I don't think anybody wants to play the Rams. That is not an overreaction. Now, the defense, there's definitely some issues. There's issues at corner. There's issues past that defensive line. The defensive line's not great against the run, but they're great against the pass. Like, but I don't know how you keep up with him the way he played last Sunday. It was unbelievable. I mean, Josh Allen, look what he did. And he lost.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Matthew Stafford.
Historic performance. And another quarterback who had himself a pretty nice day this past week was Sam Darnold. Had a 5-touchdown game, and things seem to be clicking and rolling, although it seems like at times they've snuck by or they've kind of gotten some wins with some ugly offensive performances. But after watching that game on Sunday, I had the thought to myself, and I'm sure there are people in Minnesota who might have been thinking the same thing. If I'm the front office of the Minnesota Vikings, I think I am going to take a serious, long, hard look at offering 27-year-old Sam Darnold a major extension, despite the fact that we just drafted J.J. McCarthy, even if it means potentially shipping or moving on from J.J. at some point. If I'm playing this well with a team that I have right now, Sam Darnold gone from seeing ghosts to haunting NFL defensive coordinators in the span of one season here, I think it would be foolish not to, and they should extend Sam Darnold. Overreaction or no?
I had to just look it up. I can't believe Sam Darnold's only 27. I thought you were lying, Rich. I feel like he's been in the NFL for 30 years.
Yeah.
Well,
he probably does too.
With the way it's gone, he probably thinks it's been 40. Listen, I don't know how you let a quarterback walk out the door with the way Sam Darnold's playing. I don't.
I agree.
And you could look at it in this manner. You could look at Atlanta right now and be like, I know everybody was upset about the draft, but they're in a very good position right now, right? Yes, it's like everybody going, well, did you miss on Kirk Cousins? You paid Kirk? It's essentially a 2-year deal in essence. You paid a ton of money up front, and you're protected with Michael Penix. Why couldn't you do the same thing with Sam Darnold? And you're probably not paying him as much as Kirk Cousins got. Actually, we know you're not paying him as much as Kirk Cousins got in that deal, right? Because what's the team that Kirk Cousins left and the team that wouldn't pay him that?
Sure.
Is the Vikings. So, they're not shelling out that type of money. But if you do something a little under that, what's wrong with having that? And they were planning on starting him this year anyway, even though J.J. McCarthy had a pretty good camp. Sam Darnold had a great camp. J.J. they were hoping could sit this year. Well, he's still coming off an injury that I believe he had a second surgery on it, right?
I think so, yeah.
With the knee. What's wrong with giving him some more time? What's wrong with not forcing him into, I would think, what was a comfortable quarterback spot to now a pretty uncomfortable quarterback situation with, we let Sam Darnold leave, you better play better than that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And then
that's tough for a rookie. So Sam Darnold's playing great. And sometimes this league is so much about fit, it's not even funny. And he has a guy that understands how he should be playing.
Correct.
And I think Kevin O'Connell is outstanding. The runner-up for the Broncos head coaching position after Nathaniel Hackett, which is still hilarious. I was talking to somebody the other day about that, just a quick sidebar. I was like, do you know who the two runner-ups were to Nathaniel Hackett in Denver? And they were like, who? I was like, Kevin O'Connell and Dan Quinn.
Yep. Just added to the list of, Kyle Shanahan and the Broncos runner-up head coaching list is going to be, there's going to be a bust section of them in Canton one day.
Seriously. But no, I don't think it's an overreaction. I think you have to seriously think about keeping him because rookie quarterbacks are a crapshoot. They are. Look at the way Bo Nix was panned when he got picked. He's probably playing like the second, if not best quarterback, and it's a toss-up probably, right, with him and Jaden Daniels. So
Yep.
Yeah, I'd pass. That's not an overreaction. Not an overreaction.
All right. I went 1 for 3 this week. I'll have to.
I don't want these to be grades for you, Reggie. I do not want those to be grades for you because you're supposed to push the envelope. You know what I mean?
No, it's good. I can't. It can't be sweeps one way or the other. You got to mix it up a little bit. Well, James, I always appreciate you taking a little time out of your very busy schedule. Mine too. Mine too, frankly. Yeah. So I appreciate you and can't wait to catch up with you again next week.
All right, sounds good, brother. Sounds good.
To the rest of you out there, give us a follow on social media, all of our channels at Denver Sports.com. So much great content on YouTube. Smash that like button, subscribe, see more of James's beautiful hair anytime you want.
It's really flowing today.
On demand. It is. I've been resisting the urge to say it the entire show.
I don't know. I feel like a 50s pop singer or something.
Hey, they had their day and you'll have yours too.
Wow.
Have a great rest of your day, everybody.